we're trying to stay innovative in all different ways in terms of things we have to offer in the future, things we have offered in the past, and the people that we have building it. We're always just trying to best serve our employees, make sure that they feel happy, that they feel valued, that they feel purpose-driven, that if they have a complaint, they don't feel afraid to tell us. One of the things that will help them is understanding there is what you want, there is what's available. What helps talent acquisition understanding the hiring managers is get a good sense of who the hiring manager is. You know, like take the resume off paper. And so it's not always what looks good on paper. You might have the best looking resume on paper, but if the personality isn't a fit for this hiring manager, it's not going to work.
We are here with Dylan Nelson, Head of Talent Acquisition and Training at Verb technology company. Verb offers interactive video-based sales enablement applications and was ranked by Social Selling News as the #1 direct selling app. Dylan is a multi-faceted talent acquisition professional who spent a chunk of his career in leadership recruitment for the Leaders Lab and now shares his expertise to Verb, wearing multiple hats within the company. Dylan, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Dylan, start by telling us more about Verb, your role, and some of the previous experiences that led you to the role.
So thanks for asking. Verb, we are a publicly traded company. We specialize in SaaS, software as a service. We have essentially two verticals of that now, where we do have like our CRMs and our sales tools, our marketing tools. But then we also have a new component of our business called Market, which is a live stream e-commerce app. And that's we kind of have a foot in both worlds right now, e-commerce and CRM. So it's an exciting time for us. And we're very excited to see what happens in the new year.
Now, Verb has a pretty comprehensive suite of sales enablement SaaS products, friendly for large enterprises, for small businesses. Your software applications are available in over 60 countries in more than 48 languages. So share with us, what type of innovation is Verb bringing that is attractive to top talent?
So we're a very future-focused company. Our founder and CEO, Rory, he comes from a long history in tech and in building companies. And what we are doing to kind of stay on top of things and stay innovating is we're always keeping in close contacts with our clients. If they have a suggestion they would like to see made, a lot of times we're incorporating those changes into our CRMs and our sales tools. And we are constantly trying to make things more mobile and more cloud-based and automated. So that's something that the tech side of our business is always focused on. But in terms of company structure, leadership, how we work, we're always just trying to best serve our employees, make sure that they feel happy, that they feel valued, that they feel purpose-driven, that if they have a complaint, they don't feel afraid to tell us. So it's a bit, company-focused, a bit people-focused. And then in terms of bringing in new ideas and new innovation, this live stream e-commerce thing is right on the pulse of that. That's something that we directly took from China. It's very popular over in China. We're trying to purpose it here for a U.S. market. So we're trying to stay innovative in all different ways in terms of things we have to offer in the future, things we have offered in the past, and the people that we have building it.
Now, I'd like to dive a little bit into the culture of the company. I know you had a really sweet testimony that you posted on LinkedIn that actually went viral about what joining a company like Verb has meant for you personally. So what are some of the values that matter most to you at Verb, and how do you ensure that these values are enforced throughout the company?
So we're big on diversity and inclusion for sure. That's one of our top values. Women in leadership is one of our top values. Our COO is female. Our director is female. And, it's not to say that one is better than the other. We want the best leader in the room to be the leader of the room. So ways that we stay on on that or enforce that is, for example, we had some bad leadership this year that we had to get rid of. People very high up in the company, VPs, SVPs, and when they weren't performing, we let them go, regardless of how it would affect our downstream, because our culture is very sacred to us. We want to make sure that people like working here and that they want to stay working here. So sometimes enforcing it isn't so fun. Sometimes you do have to make hard decisions, but ways that we enforce that or we keep that going, we preserve our culture in terms of making sure that people at the company know that our values are important to us, is we do a lot of culture building sessions. We do brainwashing sessions. We have dumb Slack channels just about food and recipes and kids and whatnot, because in this new workforce, not everyone's at the office. We have a remote option. If you want to be remote all the time, you can be. And sometimes that helps, that can make people feel kind of alienated, or like they just open up their computer every day and close it. And we want to make sure that everybody at the company knows they're seen, knows they're valued, knows that they're a part of the team. And so we try to organize as many online, community events as we can. Like we just had our Christmas party. We played a company-wide Zoom game, so we're always trying to try new things to keep people involved, make sure they feel part of the team, and make sure that they feel valued. And when they perform, we try to promote them, Sometimes we take risks on people that don't have the best professional resume, but their personality is a dead match. And if we develop those leaders into being truly good at their position, we promote them, we celebrate them. So, we're trying to pave this new way in remote work, and try to keep people as excited about their job as when they first said yes to it. And it's, I feel like a lot of companies that have been in office for a long time are struggling with that, because we're small, because we're tech based and everybody's kind of tech savvy. We're definitely finding some success with that, and making sure that, we have a Slack meeting for a book club. We have a Slack meeting, it's like, whatever we can do to make sure that people that are remote know that they're important to us.
Now, as the sole recruiter of the company, what are some regular practices or processes or tools you rely on to ensure that you're well organized and that the candidate experience remains consistent?
So I don't have like a super exciting answer for this. It's definitely just like LinkedIn for sure. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. That's how I stay connected with everybody. That's how I've made some of my best hires, is through connections on LinkedIn. I also heavily rely on the app Calendly for all my scheduling. I have several different Calendly meetings I send out to people. Email templates. If you are a candidate that's not going to get an interview, you will get an email from me. If you're a candidate that's going to get an interview, you will get an email from me. Saving different interview style questionnaires that I have. So I'll have like an interview questionnaire for somebody in a creative role, an interview questionnaire for somebody in a financial role. I just try to have all of my templates and emails and everything saved and set, so that when I see a good candidate, I can reach out to them and I'm ready. That's something that I've just learned over the years, but the online tools, as long as you're using them every day, they work great. LinkedIn, Calendly, Indeed for job posts, and then staying well networked in your community. Be active on LinkedIn. There's a lot of recruiters that they just reach out to people. They don't really post about themselves or their life. I argue that doesn't create a lot of intrigue for somebody to want to talk to you. You know what I mean? If somebody's seen me on LinkedIn several times over the last year, it's not going to surprise them when I message them to see if they want to talk about a job. So, the tools are available, but I would say just use them. You know what I mean? Don't be hunting for the next new thing, the next, recruiting tech. Use the traditional ones, use them often, and be genuine about it, because nobody likes it when we feel like we're being catfished by a recruiter.
Now, from your experiences in mid-market recruiting, executive recruiting at the Leaders Lab, and now your recruitment experiences at Verb, share with us your thoughts on what should the collaboration look like between the talent acquisition department and hiring managers? What should that collaboration look like today?
So that is a great question, isn't it? Because there is definitely some friction between the two departments. The thing that I tell hiring managers is recruiting is not ordering off a restaurant menu. You know what I mean? There's what you want, and then there's what's available, right? And so it's a bit more like ordering off a farm to table menu, right? So that's what I tell hiring managers is like, look, I know that you want a West Point grad with an MBA with 5 years corporate leadership experience for $80,000 a year. That's not available right now, you know? And so I try to teach them like, you know, this is what is available. These are the perks about what we can find with these types of candidates in your salary range, but just be very clear with your hiring manager and setting their expectations. In terms of the hiring manager understanding what the talent acquisition department does, you know, I would say it's two different roles. So one of the things that will help them is understanding there is what you want, there is what's available. What helps talent acquisition understanding the hiring managers is get a good sense of who the hiring manager is. You know, like take the resume off paper. Like a lot of times after an interview, I'll stick around with the hiring manager on Zoom and be like, so what did you like about this person? What didn't you like? Not in terms of their professional experience, but what about it as a person? Like, do they talk too much? Do you think they're going to ask too many questions? Do you want somebody more self-sufficient? Do you want somebody who's better prepared in terms of their technology? You know, there's all these sorts of human factors, personality factors that coincide with a successful hire. And so it's not always what looks good on paper. You might have the best looking resume on paper, but if the personality isn't a fit for this hiring manager, it's not going to work. So I would say the TAs really understand your hiring manager, like really understand who they are, what they prefer, what their personality is like, what bothers them. And for the hiring manager, understand that what you want isn't always available. And sometimes you gotta take a risk on a less qualified resume, but an awesome personality, you know?
Dylan, as mentioned, naturally at a startup, you wear multiple hats. In your case, it's a mix of recruitment, account management, and creative contribution. So what's your advice? Like, what advice do you have for other TA leaders playing a multifaceted role at a startup?
I would say, first off, entitlement gets you nowhere. You know, if you're not willing to do your job, there is somebody that is willing. So, you know, I'm fortunate that in my teenage years, in my early 20s, I worked some terrible jobs, like terrible jobs. I was a 911 midnight dispatcher for the Kansas City Fire Department for 3 years. That job's terrible. You know, I would rather wear 4 hats at this job than go back to that. So I'm fortunate in that I come from a pretty self-made background, and I have a perspective of gratitude when I go into my job of like, yeah, I might have to do more things than normal, but I'd much rather be doing this. Keep that perspective in mind, you know, like keep that perspective. Don't look at it as like, why are they asking me to do more things? Keep a perspective of, oh, I'm excited to do more things. This makes me, you know, more valuable to my company, makes me more difficult to fire. You're being asked to do more things because your value to the company is showing. So keep that perspective in mind. And then also I would just say, if you show up for anything, show up all the way. You know, like if you show up for anything, show up all the way, like really give it your best shot. A lot of times when we have people that want to stay in their own lane, they don't want to try new things or meet different departments, you know, that's not so great for us because we're a small company. We need all hands on deck. So I would say if you're somebody being asked to do multiple things within your company, be excited about it, show up, play full out. That's always going to give you a better reward in the end, whether at your current job or in a future position. Adding experience to your resume in any way that you can is always good, and put it on your resume, like make people know that you can do multiple things, because in terms of what I see in the hiring landscape, that's just becoming more and more and more valuable. People want multifaceted, capable people, and getting that practice at your current job shouldn't be viewed as like, as a hardship. You know what I mean? It should be viewed as like, hey, you're being asked to a challenge, rise to the challenge, go for it. Like get after it. It could be a lot worse. You could be doing a job nobody wants to do. So I try to view things in that way, and that kind of helps me sustain things when I go from a creative meeting to a production meeting to a recruiting meeting to you're in and out of different things all day. It's exciting. It creates a fast pace, and I am ultimately grateful for it.
Last question for you, Dylan. At Solvable, we are all about what drives purpose and satisfaction for people at work. So I would love to know, what drives purpose and satisfaction for you at Verb?
Well, in terms of my recruiting role, I love when I get to call somebody and tell them they're getting a job. Like, that is one of the best phone calls anyone gets to make, so I live for that. I love that. I love when I hire somebody and I get to see them grow at a company. That's great. But I did that for a long time just as a recruiter, always hunting for the next deal, never really contributing to a company or building anything as a whole. Right now, with what we're building, especially with the live stream e-commerce, I feel like I'm genuinely helping to create something that I have an actual interest in. Like, I'm a typical, millennial. I watched a ton of YouTube. Yes. And with live stream e-commerce, I feel like that's kind of the next wave in things. That's something that I personally am a fan of. So what gives me purpose at work is I want to see this become normal in the United States. I don't want to have to Google a product, Google product reviews, Google positive and negative product reviews. I want to find the product that I like, watch a video from the people making it, ask them questions in real time, and have that become a normative way of e-commerce in the US, because that just makes sense for me as who I am. So there's two parts to it. The first one is I love when I'm able to offer people a job in something that they like, giving them a better situation. But I also like the fact that I'm helping to build something that I want to see come to fruition. So I'm very fortunate that I have both of those things at work. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have that. But that's what drives it for me, for sure.
Dylan, thanks so much for being on with us today. And thank you all for listening to Architects of Contemporary Hiring.